Welcome to Serious Talk, Salesforce at Scale. I'm Greg Banks, your host. Thanks for coming along today. The ground has shifted out from under today's guest more than once, and every time he is answered by moving forward. Matt Gibson is a solution engineer at Salesforce, working with aerospace, defense, and public sector teams. He served over 8 years in the Army, deployed to Iraq, started in this ecosystem as an accidental admin, and worked his way from consultant to architect, now to the mothership. He's also come through 2 brain tumor surgeries and co-founded 𝗠𝘁𝗁𝘁, a nonprofit built around healing through running. We get practical about building Salesforce to grow instead of building for the now. Why people buy into people before they buy software, and what a clean handoff from a solution engineer to implementation partner looks like. All right, let's get into it. Welcome back to Serious Talk, Salesforce at Scale. I'm great to have a guest on the show that I'm kind of new to meeting, but feel like we're kindred spirits. Had some cool background conversations leading up today. Matt Gibson, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me, Greg.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure. One thing about this ecosystem that has always amazed me is the people that are in it. When I was a kid, I used to go to the mall with my grandparents, and while my grandma walked around, me and my grandpa would sit and kind of watch people. He loved studying people, not talking about them, not laughing at them, just studying them. And so it's always given me a kind of a nature to look into them. But what I see in the people in this ecosystem is selflessness, giving back. Mentors and coaches are absolutely everywhere, and Matt's done a bit of that himself. So we'll peel that back a little bit, but a little bit of introduction to Matt. Of all the people in the ecosystem, I still feel like this year I just keep seeing these different posts and stuff. Like most people we encounter in life, there's a time in our life when the ground shifts out from under us. For today's guest, it's happened more than once. Matt Gibson served in the Army for over 8 years. He carried that discipline into a second career in the Salesforce ecosystem, where he works as a solution engineer. But nothing has tested him like his diagnosis with brain cancer, a battle that changed how he saw his body, his own time, and what recovery could actually look like. Instead of just getting through it, Matt turned to running, and running turned into something bigger than himself. Alongside his co-founder, Angel, he built 𝗠𝘁𝗁𝘁, a nonprofit built around physical and mental well-being, community, and the next step forward for people fighting their own version of his fight. Man, I can't thank you enough for coming on. A veteran, a Salesforce pro, a cancer survivor, and a founder. I don't know where the word founder instead of CEO, whatever came from, but LinkedIn says it's a good thing. But man, just really, really grateful to have you here. Thank you for your service. It's been cool for me when we have guests on that straddle a couple of our podcast series. So if Greg wanders off the path today, it's because we had a lot to talk about. But I appreciate what you've done for our nation, Matt. And man, really happy to see you here and healthy and thriving. So welcome.
Well, thank you, sir. It feels great to be here.
Good. We're going to get into the Salesforce stuff. That is the series we're on. I want to definitely get into what you do and things you've learned, how you approach when you work with clients in the ecosystem. But I definitely don't want to overlook the things you did in your time of service. So tell me just a little bit about why you went in the military, any highlights you want to share of that time in there, and maybe some lessons you brought out of it that you carry with you today.
Right. So yeah, you brought up kind of the whole thing in the summary, combat vet, Salesforce career, 𝗠𝘁𝗁𝘁𝗁𝘁. Like what I hope you get out of this today is essentially like in the military that taught me how to serve to start with. The Salesforce career taught me how to like solution and solve problems. My brain tumor journey taught me how to heal, and 𝗠𝘁𝗁𝘁𝗁𝘁 has brought me full circle again with all those values, from service to solutioning and healing and solving problems. So I hope that's what you get out of me today. But yeah, starting with the military, I wish I had this awesome like story of, hey, I wanted to join my whole life and do all this. But honestly, it was just me and my buddy were like acting a fool. We were 18 years old. How you know everything when you're a teenager, acting a fool, partying a lot, drinking, smoking, all that stuff. And we were sitting around one day and we just had a talk, and we were like, you know what, we'd like to get our lives together, and we would like more structure in our lives. So we decided to, join the military. We ended up joining the Army National Guard. We went straight to basic training within like 3 months together. And then while we were in basic, we got our orders to serve in Iraq. So even though I was in the Guard, I spent like my first 2.5 years on active duty, which is crazy. But yeah, I learned so much. Like we talk about service, we talk about selflessness. I learned so many different things in the Army, and a lot of those were just being at war in general. I was so selfish prior to going. Like I was selfish and just partying and doing what I wanted to. When we got overseas, it was like that selfishness got worked out of me. You know, you had to learn to adapt to the situation. You had to learn to have compassion. Where I was serving, we were in a town, right? Like it was called Tuz, Iraq. And it was about 40 miles southwest of Tikrit, which was a big area. That was Saddam's hometown. And we had to be, the Bible talks about peacemakers. Be peacemakers. There's like a whole, pretty much like a sermon about it in the Old Testament. And I was a part of a henchman company, 278th, that's a Tennessee regiment. And our company, we called ourselves the peacemakers. We wanted to do something a little different. We didn't want to come into these towns in our AO or our area of operation and just go gung-ho. We wanted to make change. And I love that about that.
Mhm.
I couldn't have served with better people because of that. So when we were in towns, we did like a ton of raids. We did a ton of like route clearances. We did a ton of peacekeeping missions, all that stuff. But it all came down to like, let's try and spread peace amongst the people. And that really helped us in the long run. It's where we got a lot of our intelligence. It's where we were able to be ahead of the enemy. And it was just all about spreading peace, you know, and the people learned to trust us. And it was because of that kind of rolled into the rest of my life here, right? Learning those basic things at the age of 18, because that's when
a
I
big
joined.
lesson for an 18-year-old. Yeah, it's there's the mission, no doubt. You had your orders and you had to do what the order said you had to do. But the intentionality, I mean, like that's a thread I can see starting here. Being intentional about how you do the mission is something certainly we can understand your role in Salesforce and beyond. But man, I could go down that wormhole and stay there for a few hours. So I know we got some other things to talk about, but really, really cool to hear. I know the algorithms, everything's listening to me. So between what I talk about on this series and the Military Minute, I'm just constantly getting posts and links to videos and just love watching movies and studying the historical side of things. So it's
I do
good
too.
to learn about the different experiences. Why did you get out?
Honestly, I met my wife. So I got my ETS was 2009, which you have 2 more years after that where you're kind of like inactive reserve. They can call you back anytime. I met my wife in 2009. And throughout all those years in serving, honestly, military is hard. It's hard on families. It's hard on people sometimes. And honestly, like my focus was future. It was about family. The funny thing is when I was in Iraq, there were many times we spent 9 days out in our AO, like at a retrans site where we had to guard and we ran all our missions out of, and then we'd come back in the fob for 2 days. And there would be many nights I'd be sitting out there and you can't imagine like the amount of stars you can see in the sky out there. Like they'd have no lights. They shut off their lights at certain times every day. And it's just like the galaxy above you. And there was times over there that I would just look up and I would pray and I'd be like, you know what? I would dream. I would say, I want that family. I want a wife one day. I want a family. And I found my wife in 2009. I decided, hey, it's time to get out. Let me ETS and move on. And we started having children right away. So that's why I got out, was to kind of start that next chapter.
Go see about a girl.
Yes,
I can relate. Who's the Good Will Hunting? That was Robin Williams' line at the end of the movie. I'm going to go see about a girl.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So when you chose to get out, what was the path that led you into the Salesforce ecosystem? What were you doing? What was your first job coming out, and where'd that take you from there?
Honestly, it took years, to be honest. So I got out in 09. You hear a lot of like active duty people talk about how we're just really not set up for success, right? Like as in starting a career. It's really hard to make that transition. That's why we have all these amazing people out here like you, Greg, helping veterans, right? There's all kinds of organizations out there like Hiring Our Heroes and all them. We have Salesforce Military, huge aspect of my life, right? The same goes for the Guard. A lot of people are like, well, the Guard, you're part-time, you have a full-time job at home. But in reality, like the Guard, they're in the same page. They don't necessarily set you up to have a healthy career. It's more like find a job and do what you do, but be here and be fully with us when you're here 1 week in a month, 2 weeks a year.
Right.
And that's hard on a career. You know, it goes kind of both ways. So it took me a few years. So I went from like being a meat market manager. If you notice my hands, you meet me, I cut my finger off. Cutting meat on a saw, crazy stories there. I worked on the line at a big auto manufacturer, like working second, third shift for many years. And I just got sick of it. I got sick and tired. There's a money guy, Dave Ramsey out there, and he's like,
Hmm.
you just gotta get sick and tired and start something, you know? And I just got sick and tired, went to school, got my IT degree while I was working third shift. And like with my IT degree, got my first job, and they were heavy Salesforce users.
Wow.
And within that first job, like I became an accidental admin and I found Salesforce Military. At the time, they called it Vet Force. And that was like in 2015. And the rest is history. That's how I got in. Accidental admin, like on a services team at like a local, we built like carts on wheels and wall stations for healthcare, for like hospitals and stuff. And the rest is history there. So I moved from admin, worked in the partner side where I moved from just being like a consultant to architect to doing sales and architecture. And then it was always my dream to work for Salesforce. Like so many people in this ecosystem are like, I want to work for the mothership. That's what we call
Yeah.
Salesforce, the mothership. And that was always the dream. So
Understood.
I made it to the mothership and became an SE, a solution engineer.
Yeah, accidental admins is pretty much anybody that's in this ecosystem that got around to taking a cert. But the only thing traditional about the on-ramp is it's all untraditional because nobody came out of high school, went to their high school counselor, and they go, you got to learn Salesforce. That might be going on now, but it certainly wasn't for most of the time that Salesforce has been in existence. So
Yeah.
I was reading on your bio on your website. So we call this series Salesforce at Scale. And the reason I wanted to start this series is we're an implementation partner. We work with clients to help put Salesforce in. And a lot of those clients are new to the environment. And no offense to Salesforce salespeople or not saying anything bad about any of our clients. But the one thing I think this is really, really misunderstood is most people like any other project is when we go live, that's the finish line. And I
Right.
contend that's absolutely could not be more wrong. That's actually the starting line. From here on, you own it. From here on, you got to read release notes. From here on, you got to be testing. You got to be fail-safing. You got to keep up with security challenges and hacks and all those things. So this is us handing it over to you, and there's a lot to own in that. So we want to talk about stories of people who've learned that lesson, how they've adapted, and there's a lot of life lessons in there, some undertones of this episode, but there's a lot that goes to it. But I was reading on your bio, quote, I specialize in translating complex mission requirements into secure, scalable cloud solutions. I've worked alongside public sector teams to help them move faster, operate smarter, and build systems their users can trust. That could be a commercial, it could be a billboard, it could be a business card. Like, I don't know anybody on the planet that's going to argue, yeah, give me some of that.
All right.
Nonetheless, there are people out there who just want to go fast and not be intentional, not be smart. So going back to that intentionality around how you did your mission now as a solution engineer for Salesforce is you got to be real intentional there too, right? These are not yes, no questions. It's not showing my age. It's not a Scantron where you just color the circle in, right? You got to get a little context. You got to be smart about listening and asking questions to not just throw a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Sorry for the analogies drowning over here, but you get where I'm going. But we want to have a real solution, not just an answer, right? So talk to me about that statement. And if I say something like best practice or having a Salesforce solution that can scale, coming from the mothership, what does that mean to you?
I think like for me, it starts with that last word you said in that bio piece was trust. So something I have prided myself in for many years, like being in the ecosystem, and I learned this kind of in the early days, was no matter what side of the aisle you're on, like whether you're the customer, you're the implementer, or you're the sales guy, people buy into people. They don't just buy great software. So building that trust aspect is crucial. And I mean, it comes not just at the C level, but at the business unit level, right? So when we talk about like scalability and best practices, I would say when you're building with Salesforce and we're talking about building to scale, what's important there is like, scaling isn't about like, hey, we're building for 200 more users. It's let's build Salesforce to grow, not for the now. So we get all these requirements and it's like, okay, we got to get building. No, let's actually architect this thing. Like they're buying Sales Cloud. This is a bunch of sales users, right? We could build this like we want to now, but what if we could actually look at this and what if we build it for, hey, what if we start bringing service teams in? What if we start bringing marketing teams in? So building that like scalability with that trust with the customer. So building to grow while in parallel building that trust. So we don't want to just build for the C-suite. We actually want to build for the business too. Because when you have unhappy users, they're not going to use the system either.
Yeah, correct.
the crazy thing is the sector I work in now is I work in the aerospace and defense and like government systems integrator side. So you can imagine like a lot of these, it's a lot of swivel chairing, just like a lot of businesses out there, right? A lot of different systems, siloed data, swivel chairing. And I think the one thing that I've seen all these years, I've been in this ecosystem over a decade now, that Salesforce brings to the table is that cohesiveness, that like single source of truth, that single pane of glass, that, yeah, you can still have all those processes. You can still have like billing in your billing system. You can still have manufacturing in your MRP. But being able to bring all that data into one spot for those crucial users, those business users to be able to see it and have those integrations, it saves them so much time, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
I was going to say, then we talk about best practices. So something about Salesforce, we're in this AI world. It's like AI this, AI that, AI this. AI is so supportive to us. It's great as a tool, but it's not great to replace, right? In a lot of instances. So when we talk about best practices, let's always just think about Salesforce as how it started, right? Salesforce is a great platform that you can configure with clicks over code. And I feel like we're losing that over time. So think small, think that beginner mindset and build that way. That was the only other thing I was going to add.
Yeah. I mean, it's got to work for everybody, to your point, right?
Yeah.
I think back over my career and I've sat through discovery with clients and you meet with them and they share their screen and there's 222 shortcuts to spreadsheets on their desktop. Why? This is what it takes to do their job. My dad used to make fun of me when I got out of college. I would go from company to company to company. Like I think the first 5-6 years out of college, I had to do like 4 jobs. And then I landed somewhere and I spent almost 25 years there. But I told that, like the world that he grew up in, where you go somewhere and work 40 years, get a pension and retire, those days are just gone. So one of the things I think about scaling is not all growth is organic. It typically comes through acquisition, private equity. Like we're seeing a ton of business coming through private equity acquisition right now. Is when you bring people in, you've got to have a way to on-ramp them without slowing down and training 2,000 users on this thing. Like it has to be intuitive. It has to be friendly. It needs to flow the way your business process flows, not just clicking all over the place and knowing where to go. It should guide you to that. And
yeah,
I was on Classic the first 11 years I was in the ecosystem. You couldn't do some of this stuff, but with dynamic pages and screen flows and stuff like that, man, it has just absolutely changed the game for users. But yeah, I mean, those are great examples of what we want to get to with the solution, that it should be fairly obvious what you're trying to do. And probably the simplest example of this, before I left my last company, one of the last projects I did, I had a person pretty high up in the organization came to me and we had key account plans. Like we were a large company, 15,000 employees. We had a lot of clients. So when you look across the ocean of all your clients, like there's some bigger ones, some key ones, and they want to have plans for each, each business. Say like, here's our top 10 clients. We want to make sure we have a plan in place on how we address the needs of these 10. And they came to me and said, here's my requirements. And it was like, it had like 8 or 9 different objects nested in there. And on every page, what was given to me in the requirements, they had text boxes everywhere. And I was like, what are we going to do with these? And they go, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you're not putting it in here because it's a nice place to store it. Like you're putting it here so I can report on it, so I can have automation trigger off of it. I can set reminders to kick in because I did this. You can't trust people to type stuff in text boxes. It's the least reliable feature in Salesforce is a text box. This person would not listen to me to save my life. Like we eventually converted on a handful of things to have some pick lists where we could like drive good reports and filtering and grouping and those things. But that's a great example, right? I don't want a spreadsheet where I'm having to type everything in. If I'm training 300 field users to go, this is what we want to give you, they may have to type in one field because this is the context of what they're doing, but everything else, pick, like move through it as quickly as they can because you pay them to go do that work, not sit there and type. So
100%.
I mean, those are just examples. When we think about scaling, we think about efficiency, we think about, to your point, the smallest user, if you will, the wide part of your user base. Like you want to make sure you're setting things up aligned to their needs and making sure they're efficient because you're never better than your weakest link. If the person
100%.
having to put that data in's got a crappy experience, guess what your data is going to look like? You have a really pretty report of crappy data. So
yeah. And you got to go beyond. Yeah, you got to go back and forth from that one user all the way to what the executive wants to see. So when we're building that field, how does that affect the the metrics on the down end?
Correct. So in this ramble, one of the things we talked about was about you helping others. And in this role, I mean, this is a paid position. Like you're stepping into a situation. There's pressure. to learn about what the client is and try to give them ideas and confidence in the steps you're going to take with whoever their implementation partner is. What about that process excites you? Why? I mean, that feels like a well you go to, and it's kind of thankless because the client's really not that excited at that part. They don't have anything they can hold. This is just, you're helping them define what their dream might look like a little more clearly. But what about that process excites you?
Honestly, learning. Like, I love learning new things. I love learning on my toes. For when I started out as a consultant, like, the one thing that scared me the most was the discovery phase, because I was like, what if I don't ask the right questions? Or what if I don't get the right information to build this? And I always used to get like so scared and nervous about that. But it really just comes down to being inquisitive. And that's what I love about any role that I'm in, is even though every business, each industry can have similar things, every single business runs totally different, no matter what industry you're in. So there's like excitement in the worry and the fear.
Yeah.
Almost. It's like when I'm in my most like nervous or scared state, that's when I know I'm going to succeed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So if you're a parent out there and you've got a toddler who goes, why?
Yeah.
There's a good future for that kid. Put them in project management, put them in charge of discovery. They want to understand not just what you're doing, but why you're doing it. That'll make for better developments go on later.
Right.
Excellent. And what you're doing today, I got to be honest, like, I don't know that I've ever had a sit down conversation with a solution engineer. Like, you guys are terribly important in the scoping process and the sales process and whatnot. But a lot of times when you hand it over to that implementation partner, we never hear from you guys again. That we're not supposed to be fair. But when you think about how you're approaching those now, how do you find out, like, you're being pulled into a project? What's given to you to kind of engage that process? And when you look at going from there to actually having those conversations with a client, what are some lessons you look back on your time in the military that, like, just you feel like? I heard somebody say recently about the military, you guys are calm under chaos, and there's probably not a better phrase to say. But I would say you're not just calm, but you learn how to pick up the things that matter in chaos and run forward with that. Like, it doesn't mean anything doesn't matter, but there are things that matter more, and you got to make sure you stay true to those things. When you think about all the things you learn in the military, and I always remind people, 17, 18 years old, you knew nothing and thought you knew everything, and you find out pretty quickly you don't know anything, right? So going from that to what you're doing now, how do you see that journey accentuating what it is that you try to do today?
I think all of that, from just the military to getting into the ecosystem to being a consultant, has made me the best solution engineer I can be. And the reason I say that is because I've seen all the hard things. I've seen all the good things. I've kind of seen it all. And now that has made me ready to be a better seller. So as a solution engineer, just to give you kind of context, we sit on the sales side. So as an SE at Salesforce, we are essentially the technical counterpart of the account executive. So the account executive gets the meetings. We come in as that technical person, and we do discoveries. We have technical conversations. We do demos. There's all kinds of things we do before we hand off to the partner ultimately. So hopefully we have a clean handoff of what we've done, what we've discussed to that partner. The reason I have that knowledge is because I was a partner before, right?
Yeah.
So for me, I want to be that good SE for that consulting firm, right? So we talk about calm under chaos. The military definitely forces you into that, right? Especially as an 18-year-old person, you don't even know what that is. It's just, you're thrown in the deep end and things hit you fast and you have to make decisions. And you're not going to make the right decision every time, but it's about making the decision. You can't sit there and just waddle, right? You have to make a decision. And the military is really good about that. The military, from basic training where you're freaking low crawling 100 yards while live rounds are going over your head under barbed wire, little things like that. It also comes with teaming. Whether you're in the military or whether you're in the Salesforce ecosystem, this ecosystem, we have prided ourselves as the Ohana, right? We are here for each other. Something I learned in the military was collaboration and teamwork. You can't do anything by yourself. Well, you can do stuff by yourself, but when you do it as a team, you can get things done faster. You can get it done more efficiently. Moves the same way as an SE, right? Or as a Salesforce career person. Don't try to take everything into your own hands. Be collaborative. Be helpful. Be a team player. What was the question again about that?
When sales pulls you in and you're getting ready to meet with a client, What do you come to the table with there to kind of start that process? And how do you try any of that back to the things you learned from the military?
Yeah. So with that teaming, with that calm under chaos, when I first get a sale, I come with that inquisitive mind, like I was just talking about. I come as a learner. I learned early in my career to put the ego aside and to just be inquisitive, be that little child. Dad, what? Dad, what's this? What's that? What's that? I've learned that rolls into trust. When I meet a customer for the first time and we have a 30-minute conversation, a lot of times we're just kind of just getting to know each other. It's almost like going on your first date. It's like, hey, who are you? What are we doing? So ask questions. That second time, start getting into discovery. Continue to be inquisitive. And as you ask questions and learn from that customer, they trust you because they're like, man, this guy actually cares about my business, So that's kind of how the process rolls, right? It's almost like a dating relationship. We meet each other, we get to that discovery phase, and we start solutioning those problems. On the sales side, we solution it more at a higher level. In consulting, you're going to do like a BRD, a business requirements document. We're going to, this is this requirement, this. In the sales role, you're more of a higher level. You're like, okay, in my mind, they have these problems. How can I fix that with the products I have or my skill set, right? So that's pretty much the process we roll down. Discovery, understanding, try to get reverse demos, try to understand like the requirements at the top level and start building that demo. And hopefully you're bringing in that partner or that consulting firm you're working with early on so you can collaborate together. Hey, Greg, what do you think about this? And that's where that teamwork comes in. What do you think about this?
Right. Sometimes like we may have had a conversation with a client that you were not a privy to. So we know something you actually don't, a little more off in the weeds. But if we already kind of made some decisions about how we think that's going to be approached, we want to make sure that what Salesforce is saying and what we're saying complement one another. It's not about 2 versus 1, us being them right and the client not knowing. It's
right.
It's about making sure you stay aligned. I'm thinking the other side of it for just a second. Think about a team out there. You've got a company who's getting Salesforce, a partner's helping put it in. You've been involved in solutioning, and there's a team that they built internally that's going to handle this thing and run with it down the line. What's some encouragement you would give to somebody in that position on, this is exactly what happened to me. We had a partner come in and put our Salesforce environment in, had 500 users day one. I'm a standalone system owner, admin. I'm a one-person department, and I had to know the acronyms. I had to know who the business people were. I had to know all the Salesforce stuff. I had to understand the data, the process. If I was a lot younger, so I could remember most of that stuff. Documenting wasn't a thing. But I think about teams, what they inherit and what's expected of them to be successful in it. What are some recommendations you can give to somebody or some encouragement on how they go about that job?
That is good because I got to.
That was not on the list of questions, was it?
No, but it's good because I've been in that seat myself a lot. I've even come into bigger companies with thousands of users and like the brand new admin. And I would say don't try to know it all the first day, right? I don't think any decent company out there is going to hire you or going to implement this new thing that you know nothing about really and expect you to know it day one, right? But be inquisitive, hit the ground running, right? For me, it was always about being agile. I'm very like ADD in a lot of things. So, and I can do multiple things. So like if I could give anybody, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to not know everything. What is that? What is that we call when we're afraid we're doing it wrong here? Imposter syndrome.
There we go. Oh my God. I should know that. I ask this on every other episode. Yeah.
Imposter syndrome. So just so you know, anybody that's listening to this, I still deal with imposter syndrome. I've been doing this job for a decade now, and I'm still learning every day. Don't feel like an imposter. I think that's almost like a negative thing because it's like none of us are really imposters. We're all just learning. It's not good that you know everything because you don't. Like learn, be eager to learn, and don't have an ego. Just be a good person, be a decent human being, collaborate with others, and you're going to do just fine. Whether you're brand new in the ecosystem, whether you've been in here 20 years, if you're handed something new, just go after it, learn it,
Yeah. I
and
had
scale.
Mike Gerholt. Mike Gerholt was, I think, one of the first. I think Salesforce called him evangelist when they first hired him. He was the first Dreamforce speaker I ever heard back in 2012. So when we started this series, I'm like, you're one of the first people I got to reach out to, man. Like, this has been like 12 years since I last heard you speak, but I remember the words you said that day at my very first Dreamforce. And you know what those things are, man. It's like sitting in front of a
Yeah.
fire hydrant and trying to take a sip. Like, it's just coming at you. But he talked about this phrase 𝗬𝗏, Salesforce admin, by walking around. To your point, be a good person.
Ooh.
Go sit down, be empathetic with your users, get to know them. Like, you're never going to regret that. And it's never going to go against you to have taken time to get to know people. And again, it goes back to me liking to study people. I like to understand you, what's making you tick. I want not just what you're telling me, but what you're not telling me. So I think there's a lot of personal soft skill traits is what they talk about a lot. But yeah, I think the only people who don't have imposter syndrome are the people who do nothing. Like, you may have that perfected, but if you've
Agreed.
ever done something that it was new to you at some point, you weren't good at it, so you weren't an imposter. You were just new. So I don't know why we like to throw, especially at veterans or people new to the Salesforce ecosystem, like it's an imposter syndrome. No, as long as you don't come in and say you know everything, then just play ignorant and be authentic. It's like,
Right.
I just want to learn. So
It's
good deal. Good deal. I want to make sure we give time to talk about some other parts of your journey, Matt. Let's talk a little about your brain tumor. Where were you in your Salesforce career and your professional career when that first happened? And then talk a little bit about your journey there.
right. So I started my Salesforce career, 2015, early 2016, something like that. My first brain tumor, I got it removed in 2021. So the Christmas before, like in 2020, Christmas of 2020, I started having like severe headaches. My left arm started going numb and tingly. I started getting really bad vertigo, almost falling over, super dizzy. And then one night, like the headaches were so bad, the left arm, like numbness and tingling was so bad, I went to the ER because I thought I was having a stroke. And they did all the EKGs, all that stuff. They were like, you're fine. I just go home. Same thing happened again the next night. Went back to the ER. They were like, okay, we're going to do some CT scans or whatever. A couple hours later, they were like, I think we're going to send you to a specialist because you have what we see is like some calcification on your brain. At that point, I was like, I don't even know what that means. So let's just go with it. Within a couple of weeks, I had an MRI, went and saw a neurosurgeon at one of the local hospitals. And that's where me and my wife just found out I had a brain tumor, and it just like knocked us on our butts, essentially. Like I didn't eat anything. I don't eat anything. I spoke for like 24 hours after that. I was in a daze, just wrecked. But as all things in life, after that time of just like reflecting and just worry and fear, I decided, you know what? We're going to tackle this head on and we'll figure it out, right? My faith lives so heavily. You'll see me on LinkedIn. I don't hide my faith with anyone. Now, I also don't want to like shove it down your throat. I just want to like
Sure.
be a good person in life and love you and be empathetic to people. But my faith is like the core of my personality and my belief. There was things in Iraq that happened that I know God saved me from throughout my entire career, from working odd end jobs and just being on my knees in prayer, crying to help me find a career that I love, to working in the Salesforce ecosystem. That was a blessing. To the brain tumor thing. Now I'm just at another crossroads, right, where my faith has to show out. And the wife and I, we said, we saw that doctor and we weren't like 100% happy. Thankfully, we had insurance that was like, hey, you don't need a referral to see a specialist because that's a real thing nowadays with insurance companies. So I started searching around, found this brain surgeon at Vanderbilt here, ended up being like one of the best brain surgeons in the world. And we met with him. We did like a virtual because it was like snowing out here. He looked at my MRIs. He was like, Matt, this is on your brain stem. It's in your fourth ventricle. We're doing surgery next Friday. And this was like a Thursday. So another slap. I mean, you can imagine like knowing you have to do surgery on your brain. And it's like, man, that's scary, you know? Well, ended up surgery went well. Like they got it all. They said, we were good to go. It was a really rare tumor, so it took like months to get back. They were like, this is a weird tumor. We don't really want to call it here. So they sent it like to MD Anderson and a couple of other places. It was so wild. And the after surgery effects were rough. They're still affecting me today. I had pretty much had to relearn how to walk after surgery. I had all these PT sessions. I had like occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy. I pretty much had to learn how to walk. I was blind in one eye, as in like I was like having like severe double vision in my left eye. Everything affected my left. So I was like limping. My face was droopy, like I had a stroke. I couldn't see out of my left eye. I pretty much had to learn how to rewalk. I had to learn how to eat again because I was choking on food. I had to do speech therapy. I had to learn how to speak. It was a pretty wild first time there. But through it all, that's where I fell in love with running, because it was my PT was like, set a goal and we're going to get there. And I was like, I want to run, but I don't want to just run because I couldn't walk. I want to run a marathon. And they were like, that's a
There's a
lofty
goal.
goal, but yeah, we're going to get you there. So running really fell into that. I know I'm on my first one, but I started like this running journey. I took that journey, had to learn how to rewalk again, all that good stuff. And then I started running. I was like 50 pounds overweight at the time. I was out of shape, started this running journey, and I found out that even though today I still live with the headaches, I still live with the balance and dizziness, all that. Through it all, running is the one spot in my life that I don't feel those side effects at all. Like, I don't even run with music or anything. I'm one of those weirdos that are out there, like in the woods, like running with my own thoughts in my own mind. And I'm just out there rolling and putting down miles. But that's why, because I've seen the opposite side. I've seen that dark side, and that helped me heal. And that's like my time with God. That's my time of healing. Running's been like that for me. So then fast forward, like I'm working for a consulting firm. I leave, I go to Salesforce. I get a job at Salesforce. And then I worked for Salesforce for 3 years. I'm like, you know what? I've always had this itch to start my own job or my own company or whatever, like a consulting firm. So through all that fear, I took the leap. I was like, I'm starting a firm. So it was just me running it. It was just me. My wife's, we're so blessed that she's a stay-at-home mom. So like all the income and all that stress is on me to perform and succeed. And I was actually doing really well. Like I was using connections I had and I was getting work, which was great. But a few months in, going for my yearly checkup, found out the tumor had recurred. Another slap down. So went through it all again. We had to do surgery again. This time, because we thought the tumor was gone, I guess there was just like one little speck in there that they couldn't see through the microscope or whatever. It's very possible. Because it's there, the second time, he had to leave a little piece in there because it's on my brainstem. So if they do some digging in there, they could really mess me up. Like that, your brainstem is what runs everything in your body, essentially. And so we left it there. We left that little piece there. It's still there today. We did radiation after. It looks like it's shrinking now, which is amazing. But through it all, like I went through the whole journey again. This second time, it was different. I didn't have to do as much of that. Within like 8 hours of that second surgery, I was up and walking. My surgeon actually came in and talked to me like the next day, and he was like, dude, I've never seen a beast like you. You are amazing what you're doing. Like, I don't even know how you're doing this, but I was up walking. I was like, we ain't doing this again. We're going. Amazing how your body can recover from things, from like so much damage.
Yeah, exactly. So you go through the second surgery and you're wanting to get off running. So what time frame are we talking about here? How long ago was this?
So this was last year, actually.
Wow.
So this was, I had the surgery, so it's 2026. So I had the surgery in December 2024. I had radiation in March of 2025. And they did like it was super high radiation pointed at that specific spot or whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if you can see this, but behind here, my wife made this amazing wall for me. That's actually my radiation mask right there. They let me keep that. And that's like all our running medals. But yeah, that's like a constant reminder for me on like the goodness and the blessings. Like you go through hard shit and I feel like some of the hardest times make you a wiser and better person.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No doubt.
It's crazy.
Well, you're still learning, right? You're still asking questions. What does this mean? What do I got to do different now? How's this going to affect what I'm doing? But at the core of this, I'm going to keep coming back to that word intentionality. When you went in the Army, you learned to be intentional about being a peacekeeper. When you went getting into Salesforce, you're intentional about how you work with clients, not just that you get in, get requirements and get out, but that you get to know the people, that you do it right. And now we talk about your running organization, Run to Overcome.
Yeah.
I can almost sense where this is going. We actually did not talk much about this offline coming into here. But talk about why you started that and what does that mean to you? What's your purpose? What are you trying to do with it?
Yeah, so like I said, running has been my solace. It's been my healing. It's the one place I don't have the side effects. And it's been that for my wife as well. So
Mm,
as much as hard as my journey's been, it's just been just as hard for her
sure.
as a spouse, having to watch this, having to take care of me, having to like watch me go through all this, having to go through it herself, taking care of the kids. She has been through her own like journeys through life and hard times and everything. And running has become that comfort for her too. It's like we get up early in the morning every morning, and some days we don't want to do it at all, but we get up, and when we get out there and start running those miles, it's so healing to us. And so we have been talking like all of last year, actually for a few years, we've been talking about, hey, we want to start a nonprofit. What do you think? So it came down to like, let's just take the leap. But it really comes down to Run to Overcome's about like helping people overcome their battles, whether it's like mental health battles or physical ones or surgeries they've been through. Veterans have a big piece of that, but
Yeah,
also so do non-veterans, you know? And we want to help people heal through the act of running.
that's
And
awesome.
we want to, if you've never ran before, we want to take like a unique perspective. Angel and I are going to get running certified through like the RCA. We're going to do the Track and Field Association. And we're going to take a unique perspective, and we want to train people to run. If they've never ran in their life, train them and like set a goal. Well, mine was a marathon. Do you want to run a marathon? Do you want to run a 5K? Run with them through that process and watch them heal, you know?
Yeah, I can attest to the healing of exercise in general. I've got degenerative arthritis in both knees, had gout for 30 years, so my running days are largely behind me. The last 5K I did an 8-minute mile on mile one, a 10-minute mile on
Nice.
mile, a 10-minute mile on mile two. And this is trail running, not asphalt. Mile three took me 42 minutes. My knees swole up to I couldn't walk for a week after that 5K. And I said, all right, that's it. I'm done. I'll volunteer. I'll work them, but I'm not running them anymore.
Yeah.
But here's what I know, and I think you can probably tie this back to your time in military as well. There's something about hard stuff that brings healing, that brings relation, that brings almost completion, right? There's just because the relief of being done with whatever that is, it's its own thing. And then the people you did that with have that common thing in mind. So whether that was you, the people you served with in the military, people you're going to go on a run with now, when you get to the end of that, we saw the same things, we did the same things. So there's a bond. There's the opposite of that is alone. Right,
Yeah.
and
We embrace the
alone is a
suck
cancer.
together.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
embrace the suck, absolutely. Good phrase. That should add that to your wall in the back.
That's it.
Good
That's it.
stuff, good stuff. When you think about running in terms of just kinda getting back to your career, things you're still doing stuff for Salesforce and for clients now with Salesforce. What are some things you learned through running that are affecting how you do stuff?
The one thing I've learned out of everything is that I can do harder things than I expect out of myself. Like I can set the bar high and I can complete that. Right. So there's really no like limit to what I can do. And that's what running's helped me. Like that isn't just running. Like I'm getting into the ultra phases where I'm like, I like running 30 miles and 50, you know what I mean? Like that's what I like doing now. But that goes into my career too. So going back to the career, like that really flipped the switch in my head that, hey, Matt, the sky's the limit for you. So why set limits on yourself, whether you're in your career, whether in your personal life? Keep setting that bar
Sure.
higher
Sure.
and keep meeting those goals.
Sure. You mentioned some words here that I want to throw out, and I just think I owned a Salesforce word for 12 years, and probably the first 5 years on Sundays I was dreaming about work. I love going to work. I love meeting people. I love helping people. I love the feeling of the fact that I showed up. Your day job got a little better because of the things we were able to do together. I love that. As the aura grew and our team didn't, that took on a different thing. But you mentioned some words: discipline, consistency, stress management, goal setting, which I think you just kind of spoke to, and then showing up when you don't feel like it. Like I'm one of those people, I can't stand getting, the older I get, the worse this is. I can't stand getting up. But my absolute most favorite thing in the world to do is be up and outside before the sun comes up.
Right.
Watching the world. That's why I like hunting. And I don't have to take a gun to the woods. I could be sitting in a tree listening to armadillos and squirrels stir around, hear birds starting to wake up and chirp. I'm like, man, there's no greater thing in the world because you're just present. You're so aware of that
Beautiful.
moment. But as you think about sitting down with clients, as you talk about planning a run with one of your the people that are connecting with you. I can see where those words would resonate. I mean, this has been a sermonette of Matt's life and the things you've learned from it. But you guys, you mentioned that you talked for a while about finding that and starting it. I hear you talking. It sounds a lot like the word legacy is what's standing out in my mind. Is you want to leave an impact. I'm in the where they say they got more life behind you than in front of you. You cross 50 and you just start seeing life through a different lens, and you feel the fatigue of 30, 35 years. My youngest just graduated college, and he's getting up and going out early and going on the road and coming home tired and all that. I'm like, I remember sitting there going, I got to do this for 40 more freaking years. Like, I'm on the other end of that going, God, I got 8 more years. Like, you just get this fatigue in you. But I think what I hear you saying is that tumor woke up to me and you, like, let's get back to being intentional. What I do in the morning with my wife or with my clients, what I get to do in the morning before I go to do my Salesforce job, what I get to do with a client who's now I'm healthy, now I'm doing this, and somebody else is coming alongside me in this journey, this idea of being intentional. Peacekeeper's not the word that you would use in one of those clients, but maybe it is. They're not at peace. They're sitting very much in the storm, and you're coming alongside of them and bringing some stability. I think I introduced you by talking about the earth kind of moved out from under your feet. It's back up under yours, but somebody else is shifting on them, and you're just helping to steady them. If you've never dealt with vertigo, I had a bad bout with that in the last 18 months. It is not a fun thing to go through at all. It's like all the hangover stuff without the fun part that led up to it.
Right.
It's horrible.
Right.
So I feel your pain there, brother. All right. This is, again, I'm having a hard time parking this episode in one of our series because we're straddling all over the place here. Why don't you throw out a little nugget of wisdom, some takeaway we can leave from our listeners here? And I want to kind of get back to the Salesforce space. If you're on the professional side as an implementation partner, if you're on the business side of looking at getting a solution, trying to pick it, or if you're on the admin side, like you inherited this thing and you're trying to own it, what is some of the best advice you could give to somebody who's maybe at a different place in life on their journey, but based on the things you've learned?
I think from a career aspect, keep in mind that your past doesn't define your ceiling. Use it as preparation for your next mission.
There you go.
Continue to build. If you're looking to build a career wherever it's at, or you're looking to do something new at your business, or you're looking to implement some software, be inquisitive, bring a heart of empathy and trust with people, and don't set that ceiling on yourself. Just, your past doesn't set that, right? Think about what it really prepares you for that next step. And like you said, consistency beats intensity.
No doubt.
So
no doubt.
It's not about me getting to that thing tomorrow or as fast as I can. It's about staying consistent, small baby steps. I didn't get to running long races, and I didn't get to where I'm at in my career on day 2. It took years. It took years of showing up. It took years of just doing things that I didn't want to do, or doing things that made me the happiest sometimes, or were hard just to do, like getting up at 5 a.m. and staring at my shoes for 30 minutes before I go on a run. Like, you just turn it off and just keep going because it'll get better.
Yeah. When you were describing military training and you're out there in the mud under barbed wire and live rounds are going over your head, and probably just a lot of inappropriate movie flashbacks, like, move, soldier.
That's right.
Man, there's a lot of good lessons in that. When you want to get up in the morning and I can't get motivated to go run, just move, soldier. When you're walking into a meeting and you're just really not feeling whatever this client's feeling, just move, keep moving forward, keep taking that step. So scaling is about planning that there's going to be more out there, but right now be intentional, be consistent, be disciplined, be empathetic. A lot of wisdom here, man.
I like to say, keep grinding. That's my thing.
There you go.
Keep grinding.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Well, Matt, man, what a privilege to meet you. I finally found somebody that talks like I do. So we're kindred there.
We got a lot of Southern charm.
We do. We do. A lot of hospitality between you and I. Thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for the intentionality and the wisdom you bring to every client engagement. I know that's a hard thing to do, but I know there are people out there, like, I get frustrated sometimes by how certain situations go, but at the end of the day, I'm reminded there are people back there who have wives, who have their own problems, who have challenges and whatnot, and they keep showing up every day to do stuff. So to know that there's somebody like you out there doing that, thank you for what you're doing there. Thanks for sharing your brain tumor journey. I don't know what LinkedIn's supposed to be. A lot of people complaining it's turning into Facebook too and all this other kind of stuff.
I'm one of those problems.
Me too. I to be honest with you, I love the human side coming out on LinkedIn.
Me too.
Like, I'm so sick of AI generated videos of everybody's an expert. And like, you're 14. What have you done? I love seeing the real stuff come out. But the flip side of that is I see real struggle with real people going on out there. So to me, this is a great opportunity to be mindful of what people are going around, and whether it's your job or not, be a good human, be kind. right? There's a lot to be said there. So thanks for taking the time, man. It's great to get to meet you. Really have a good time to sit down and talk about this. Keep us in the loop what's going on with Run to Overcome. You got success stories going, whatnot. I'll be sure to share those when I see them pop up. But I really appreciate what you're doing, man. Keep it up.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the time. It's been a pleasure meeting you. I know we're going to have a ton of conversations after this, too.
No doubt.
So a good
No
friendship coming down the road.
Road trip. That's right. Hey, buddy. All the best, man. Thanks, Matt. Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for today. Thanks for listening to Serious Talk Salesforce at Scale. A sincere thank you goes to Matt Gibson for giving us a rare look at the solution engineer's side of the table and for trusting us with the harder chapters of his story, 2 brain surgeries, relearning how to walk, eat, and speak, and the early morning runs that became his healing. Matt, thank you for your service to our country and for the honesty you brought to this conversation. Matt put the heart of this episode into a single sentence. Your past doesn't define your ceiling. It's preparation for your next mission. He lived that in Iraq, he lived it at Vanderbilt, and he lives it every single time he gets up at 5 a.m. to go run. He lived that in Iraq, he lived it at Vanderbilt, and he lives it every single time he gets up at 5 a.m., stares at his shoes, and goes anyway. If Matt's story reached you, look up Run to Overcome, the nonprofit he co-founded with Angel to help people, veterans and non-veterans alike, heal through the act of running. You can also find Matt Gibson on LinkedIn, where he shares his journey as openly as he did here. And this episode gave you something to think about. Subscribe and leave us a review. It helps other practitioners find the show. Links and details are always in the show notes. Special thank you to Jason Fowler for the use of his song, Mystery Road. If you have any questions or guest ideas, reach us at serioustalk@serioussolutions.com. We'll see you at the next one.